Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets and take your profit. Find out how. Go to PropSwap.com or download the PropSwap app today. Football at 4 on a Friday brings us Adam Caplan as we look back at all the things that have happened this week and ahead to the NFL Draft, which is quickly approaching as he joins me now here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Adam Caplan, what's up? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Mike. And I don't know if I told you this here in the NWO music. Did I tell you who I met at the NFL owners meetings 2 weeks ago?
You did not.
Tony Schiavone.
How about it? I did see his picture being bantied around down there. People taking pictures with him.
Talk with him. It was great. We exchanged some notes, exchanged numbers. We texted a little bit. Really good dude. And it's really obviously the highlight of the week here, considering I like wrestling, as I did back then. Don't really watch it much now, but it was really cool. Yeah, I did. Alex Marvez and I are good friends, and they work together in AEW, so that's why Tony was there. It was great to see him, though, and I hope you see him down the road, but it was pretty cool.
He did some baseball play-by-play, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did. In fact, we talked about his career. That's how he got the job. He started minor league baseball, the AAA affiliate Charlotte team. That's where he's from. In his early 20s, and then obviously he worked for Crockett in the mid 80s and through his 20s, and he was with the WWF for 1 year. He liked it though. I got that cleared up because I always wondered what happened. He just his wife they wanted to move back home, sort of near home down south, and it was just really cool, though, to talk to him and talk old-school wrestling, and I told him about my stories of WCW and then all that stuff nearly 30 years ago. Wow.
You know what else was 30 years ago? The 30th anniversary today. It's the 30th opening day for Camden Yards. How about that one?
Wow. It's funny. This is interesting you say it. I didn't know that. Wow. I really 80. Really, 92,
92 was the opening day, first opening day for Camden Yards.
So the second or third year, I had a 10-game Sunday night plan for Camden Yards. I haven't been there in I don't know how long, probably 20-some-odd years, but I loved it, and from where I live, it's only about 90 minutes or so, so it's great. When I was a meat eater, going to Boog's dugout was great, back in right field, wherever it was.
All right, let's get into the topic at hand here. On Monday, there was a huge trade. I would say huge. Would you classify that as a huge trade, by the way?
Yeah. Even though there were no players, and it's very subjective when you say blockbuster, but because it involved first-round picks, and it happened now, it's funny, we've been saying on Inside the Birds, Mosher and I, for months, really since their season ended, there's no way they're going to use all three picks. They're going to wind up trading one of them. Now, the crazy thing about this trade, right, Mike, is that somehow they didn't trade their first of the three first-rounders. I was very surprised by that. They still have 15. They have 18th, the 18th pick overall, which is from the Saints. They have 5 picks now in the first 3 rounds, 2 1s, 2 3s, a 4, 3 5s, and a 7th. We'll get into what it means and what they can do and all that, because I know that's really the question fans have now. What's next? But man, yeah, it did. It was kind of cool because I thought this would happen closer to the draft or during the draft. I was not expecting it. Now that was kind of the cool surprise.
By the way, some news just coming in. Former Eagles safety Rodney McLeod is signing with the Colts, so I guess that closes the door on them possibly waiting to bring him back, which kind of insinuates some draft conversation here, how important safety is, or do they look, I know Tyrann Mathieu's name has been, you think they'll go free agency for safety, or do you think that's a spot in the draft they're going to target?
A couple things. Mathieu did some media interviews, and he's made it clear he wants a multi-year deal. So just the way the Eagles are going about this thing, I don't see it. He's turning 30 very, very soon. What they did, it's funny, McLeod, in 2016, they signed him to a long deal that turned out to be a home run. In 2014, they signed Malcolm Jenkins to a long deal. That was a home run. But those guys were early in their career, not where Rodney is now. As soon as they brought back Anthony Harris, and kind of what we've known, we were not expecting McLeod to return, and And we'll see what kind of role that Rodney has with the Colts. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at it, they got apps who they like. They've got all these draft picks, although I don't see them keeping all 10. I really don't. We'll talk more closer to the draft what we think they might do. But safety, look, I know Mosher wants a safety. He's been asking for it for years. Jeff actually, I think he said, now I have to get this right. I don't remember where he said he'd retire or not. But if they draft a safety in the first round, I know Jeff would pull his hair out. He would actually be happy because he's been calling for it. I think second round's more like it. And by the way, we just dropped our shows this week, both on Pod and YouTube, with Greg Cosell from NFL Films, and we break down the safety group and the cornerback group. And next week, we will drop D tackles and defensive ends.
All right, Adam, let's go back to the trade and kind of break down why make the trade. I mean, it seems to me for the Philadelphia Eagles, I have said all week, I can't figure out what the Saints are thinking, but why is this trade made and when it's made? As you said, I think we all thought that Howie would try to get a pick next year, but they do it They do it about a month before the draft. So why make this trade?
Yeah, it's interesting. So my understanding is it wasn't just the Saints who were looking to get an extra pick, which they were. The Eagles have been looking for a team that they can match up with. And, Mike, what they're called, this time of year we have what are called trade calls, where all 32 teams talk with each other, and they run ideas by each other. Now part of it is, hey, we're on the clock. If our guy's gone, we may want to trade out. Let's talk about what you might want to do. The Eagles we had reported, I'm going to say 2 or 3 days before the draft, that the Panthers and Eagles were in heavy discussions. But the Panthers, because they wanted J.C. Horn, made a decision that they were not going to risk trading out, and they got Horn. That was their number one guy on their board coming into the draft, and they got him there. But this is what happens now. So Mickey Loomis and Howie Roseman have done business together before. In terms of knowing each other, they've both been in the league many, many years. And the Saints, by the way, the Saints have two major needs, and the Eagles don't. The Eagles don't look at quarterback this year being that need, that they're going to go with Jalen Hurts. That's what we've been saying on Inside the Birds. We've made it clear if they didn't get Watson or Wilson, it would be Hurts, and it's going to be Hurts. It does not preclude them, though, folks, from drafting a quarterback later for the so-called quarterback factory here in Philly. So they got this deal done, and as you said, Mike, they've got a future 1, a future 2, and a future 3. They did very well. But what I wondered, Mike, is why didn't the Saints – I'm sure they did talk to most teams, but being that I do believe, and that's really the belief around the league, if the Eagles got the better end of it, why not continue to try to work the trade lines and maybe wait a little bit and see if you can get a better deal? But they thought this is the best deal they can get. But, again, the Eagles somehow are picking ahead of them in the first round.
Yeah, crazy. And as you said, the Saints feel – I saw something earlier about this, that the Saints, the quarterback situation last year, they lost Winston. They played 5 different quarterbacks and still won 9 games. And people are looking at this team as if they're going to be, in the top 10 of the draft. Do you feel that the Saints are a team that is not going to be, a good team this year? Because I think a lot of people are looking at, that Saint team's not going to be very good. They did win 9 games last year with a revolving door at quarterback.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because I remember talking to some teams in the past when they make a trade like this, and they go, you know what, we're trading with the right team. They won't be very good. When the Raiders traded Khalil Mack in 2018, they really thought the Bears would be bad, and who knew that they'd be as good as they were. They'd make the playoffs, and obviously they played the Eagles that year, the double doink game. You just don't know sometimes. It's really crazy. Yeah, so Jameis Winston, almost certainly by contract structure, making over $15 million this season, is going to be their quarterback. Doesn't mean they won't trade for a quarterback. And then the other thing for the Saints is they have now 2 first-round picks like the Eagles. Do they try to trade up? They need a left tackle in the worst way. They don't have one. And to get that left tackle, they won't be able to get one, I'm told, where they're at. They got to get inside the top 10. So maybe that's what they try to do. Try to do is trade up.
All right, Adam Caplan, InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast, new one dropped. Take a listen to that with Greg Cosell. Pre-draft visits. Some of these names are interesting. Thibodeau, he was a guy that was thought to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Sauce Gardner, clearly a top 10 pick, you would think. And as you said, possibly a quarterback. They met with Matt Corral. So why these three guys? Is that trade-up material, you would imagine?
Well, Matt Corral, you wouldn't have to trade up for, I don't think. Kenny Pickett has been the guy, I was told back in January, to be the first quarterback off the board. Sure, things can change. It's not a very good group overall. We know that. So things could change up. But when you look at Sauce Gardner, they will not be anywhere close to getting him. They would have to trade up. Now, the Eagles have a lot of ammunition. Not only do they have 2 first-round picks, they have 5 in the first 3. They've got 2 ones next year. They've done a really good job of setting themselves up for the future, Mike. And in the end, now Derek Stingley, the corner from LSU, is going to go somewhere most likely around where the Eagles pick or a little bit before them. We're just under 3 weeks out. We're 20 days out from the first day of the draft. We'll have a better idea closer to the draft who they're targeting. But cornerback, I've said it, and I'm not going to back off. It's the number one need for this football team. Yes, they could use help at other positions, receivers as well. And obviously they've tried to make a couple of moves there, but they right now cannot line up a corner opposite Darius Slay. And by the way, they got lucky last year. Slay didn't get hurt. They had absolutely no one to back them up on the outside. They cannot do that. They need actually, by the start of training camp, they need 2 significant pieces of corner. One who's going to start opposite Slay and one who could back them up. Now, that guy could come in the draft or for agency, but they've got a lot of work to do at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and last year we had this conversation all the way through until they finally signed Steve Nelson. I wonder if they finally take a corner to fix that position in the draft and look, because they still got to get a safety in some capacity. Which one do they value more in terms of drafting and developing their own guy, corner or safety?
Corner very much. If you look at the last 20 years, they've tried a corner. I mean, they haven't tried super hard. At safety, it's been patchwork. Again, they hit home runs with the two younger veterans at that point, in Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod. But Kayvon Wallace has not worked out at all. He doesn't really factor in. He's just a backup. He does not factor in at all to be a starter at this point. They have to do something at the safety position. Anthony Harris is on a 1-year deal. They do like Epps. And then, Honey Badger, they had their meeting. He's got a lot of interest in him. He does turn 30. It would be nice if they could finally build that position with younger players, but so far they've been unable to do it.
Yeah, Honey Badger is a guy. What did they have, like a Zoom meeting with him yesterday or something? Was that?
Yeah, they did. And by the way, he's not the only player in the NFL to do this. A lot of. By the way, the last 2 years, a ton in the draft. In fact, in the draft, you're not limited. You could do as many as you need to do, but you only get 30 pre-draft visits. And Corral and Thibodeau, who's a top 10 pick. He's not the pass rusher as Hutchinson is, to be clear, but he's a good player. He'll go somewhere in back, I believe, in the top 10. I just wonder, Mike, with bringing these guys in who are going to go higher than the Eagles were picking at 15, it just makes me think that they're going to try to trade up. We'll see. We talked about this a couple days ago on Inside the Birds, and we got quoted in some Eagles vlogs. We don't know exactly who they. Again, we're 3 weeks away, so we don't know yet. But it just seems to me, if a guy gets close enough, that they would trade up. That's just kind of what I'm thinking here.
Yep, that's an interesting point because of some of the guys they're bringing in at least to talk to.
Yeah.
I would, before we run it down to a couple other things, Ojabo has the Achilles. If he was in the second round, if he fell to 51, would they be inclined to take him much like they did Sidney Jones, or have they kind of learned their lesson from that?
No, but see, here's the thing with Sidney Jones. You got to understand with Sidney Jones. This is a completely different situation. Yes, they both suffered torn Achilles, full tears, but Sidney Jones had issues with competing and lost his confidence. That's the thing. Like, it had nothing to do with the Achilles in terms of playing. He came back the second year, but he just, for whatever reason, was not as competitive as he should have been. Nobody knows. This, I'm told, Mike, was not in his pre-draft profile. No one knew about this. He just could not get himself together. And look, he's done a better job since he's left. Seattle brought him back. He's been with Jacksonville as well. But he's certainly never been the player people thought he would be. Where Ojabo is a great kid. Talked to people who've interviewed him. Do I think they'll look at it? Yes, I do, because it's a good value there. You're not worried about year one. It's all about year 2. And look, when you come back from Achilles, it's not that you can't come back year 1. You're not even close to the same, and it takes a good year and a half to come back, or 2 years.
Yeah, and we brought in we know they brought Barnett in, and we said that gives them the opportunity, that gives them a little piece of depth that they could possibly get a luxury pick if that were to happen, right? And what if one of those quarterbacks fell to 51? Do you think they'd be inclined to do like a Corral or Sam Howell or one of the quarterbacks? Do you think they'd think about it then?
Well, you got to see who's on the board. I mean, it's all dependent on who's on the board. But, yeah, I mean, Corral's a top 50, top 40 pick. Because it's a bad quarterback draft, he's probably going to go in the first round. He's got a good arm. He's 6'1" and 5'8". I'm told he's fine after the high ankle sprain. It was never an issue. It's interesting that they brought him in. We'll have more intel on the quarterbacks very, very soon, by the way. We're going to do a deep dive on Pickett and all of them. But we said consistently that we'd said actually 2 months ago that we didn't think the Eagles were in on Pickett, and we still don't think that's the case.
All right, talking with Adam Caplan, Football at 4 here. Devin Allen, a 3-time 110-meter hurdle Olympic champion, signed. He hasn't played football since 2016.
Yeah.
What's his role?
Yeah, so, all right. So here's what happened. The Eagles were at his pro day at Oregon. This is what I was told. And he was just super explosive. Now, I'm also told he's had ACLs on both knees repaired. He's had a significant injury career. That's why he hasn't played football in many years. Also, he's an Olympic athlete. It's been nearly 7 years since he's played football. The Eagles are taking a shot here. He'll probably be, if again, folks, he's a major long shot to make the team. Let's be clear here. They're taking a shot here. It's a 1-year deal minimum. It's just the guy's explosive. His workout was so good. Here's a very quick story. Many, many years ago, remember Chad Hall is now the Bills receivers coach? Mm-hmm. Chad Hall went to Air Force. His workout was so good back at his pro day at Air Force. I think he had a combined workout, but his workout was so good that he was not even on the Eagles' radar. His workout was so good. Whoever the scout was then called the Eagles front office and said, we got to bring this guy in, and they wound up signing him. It's kind of like the same thing. The guy's workout was so good. They went back and watched, and I guess I don't know who the agent is, but they dealt with it. And, yeah, I think kickoff returning would be really big. Their return game was horrendous last season. We all know that. And this is kind of what he would probably do if he made the team.
Yeah, like a Willie Galt, man. You got
number 86 for the Bears. Yeah.
110-meter hurdle champion here. Boston Scott, what's going to happen with him? Because he is a free agent here that they obviously still need to find a running back situation with Jordan Howard, Boston Scott. I think they only have, 2 backs on the roster?
No, he's back. Yeah, he's back as the third back. Kenny Gainwell, they like to be the second. This one surprised me, Mike. Boston Scott, I'm a little surprised at the guaranteed money. It's a 1-year, $1.75 million deal. You say that's not a lot of money for a backup running back, but 1.1 of it, I'm told, is fully guaranteed at signing. So it tells me, they're not going to cut him, how they cut Jordan Howard, then brought him back to the practice squad and brought him back. This almost certainly, not a lot of money, but I know what they think about him, and he clearly did not find anything like this out in free agency, so he'll be back. And Kaiser White, by the way, 1 year, $2.5 million at signing, up to $5 million with incentives, but he's a guy who's not only going to start. My sense is he's got a real chance to be here more than 1 year. He's better than all these, just average guys they brought in at linebacker who never really made it. Derek Wilson's of the world, Corey Nelson. This guy's actually a lot more talented.
All right, there you go. We're getting closer to the draft as the Eagles will pick 2 picks first round, 1 pick next year. They got the extra third-round pick this year. We had a good conversation about that yesterday with Andrew DeCecco. If you missed that, go check that out on our YouTube channel. And, of course, Football at 4 will be back next week as the Eagles get closer to the NFL draft. Make sure you check out InsideTheBirds.com and the new Inside the Birds podcast, which dropped this morning with more on the Eagles draft class. And, of course, Adam Caplan here on a Sports Bash Friday, Football at 4. All right, pal, have a good weekend.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, there's Adam Caplan here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.